Welcome to you, to your team of professionals. More importantly, thank you for the work and the effort that you and your professional staff put into the care of our nation's veterans. We're grateful. To the veteran service organizations and the American Federation of Government Employees, we welcome you as well as part of this hearing. And I think we will run into a little glitch on votes today at 11 o'clock, but we'll try to deal with them as smoothly and quickly as we can. Of course, we're here today to talk about the President's 2012 budget. In a time of record high debt and deficits, my priority is not only to ensure that veterans of every generation receive the care and benefits that they need and deserve, but also to analyze every area of the budget to ensure we maximize all options to spend the taxpayers' money wisely. As President Obama states in his budget message, even in areas outside the freeze, we're looking for ways to save money and cut on necessary costs. The fiscal year 2012 Veterans Affairs budget requests an 11% increase over the 2010 enacted levels in discretionary spending. In examining the VA budget request, one observation I have is the growth over the last 2 years in the budget of the staff offices in D.C. Central Office. If this budget were to be approved, both the funding levels and the number of staff will have grown at a very high rate since 2010. The General Administration budget has increased 13% since 2010, and the staff, or FTEs, request for 2012 reflects a 20% increase. This large boost in spending led me to look closer at the FTE request of the individual offices within the General Administration. Here's what I found. 2-year staffing increase of 7% in the Office of the Secretary, a 2-year staffing increase of 34% for the Office of Public and Intergovernmental Affairs, a 2-year staffing increase of 44% for the Office of Congressional Legislative Affairs. Other examples of spending we may want to take a closer look at include VA continuing to operate and publish a law review that has articles and book reviews, and the hiring of a speechwriter for the Assistant Secretary. How are these funding increases essential to our nation's veterans? It's a question we should ask. Do these additional staff directly benefit the veterans who use the VA system? Another item I found very interesting is the $1 billion contingency fund in the medical services account, which would essentially provide a buffer in case of poor economic conditions were to drive up the demand for VA services. The Secretary and I talked about that earlier this week. It caught my eye because the first line of the President's budget message says this, and I quote, "America is emerging from the worst recession in generations. In 2010, an economy that has been shrinking began to grow again." Now, what I find interesting is the seemingly difference of opinion of the strength of the economy between the President and those who forecasted the budget and the need for a contingency fund. I've been assured by the Secretary that the contingency fund is designed for the delivery of health care, and I think as long as we stay within those parameters, we're all comfortable. The Medical Care Collection Fund, or MCCF, is of particular interest to me. Recently, the VA Chief Business Officer informed my staff the VA was downgrading from what it was expecting to collect in 2012 from $3.1 to $2.8 billion. I'm interested to learn more about this sudden change in the collections forecast and the actuarial model that was used to calculate it. I'm also interested to know whether we're collecting everything the VA is owed under MCCF. When my staff asked VA what percentage of available money is being collected, the Chief Business Officer could not give them a definitive answer. While VA has done an excellent job in recent years collecting what it forecasts, is there more money being left on the table? Another concern is the claims backlog that Senator Murray has raised in her opening statement and has been the continual talk of conversation. Veterans from North Carolina and across the country can't wait too long for decisions that too often are wrong. For years, the primary response to these problems has been to add more staff. In fact, 2001 claims processing staff has more than doubled, but the problems of large backlogs and long delays continue, and they're expected to get even worse. Although I appreciate the VA is now focusing on IT improvements and other initiatives rather than simply adding more staff, New ideas and good intentions aren't enough. We must make sure VA has the tools and the resources it needs to succeed in these efforts. More importantly, we must make sure there is a realistic, comprehensive plan to get the backlogs under control so veterans and their families will not face delays or frustrations in accessing their VA benefits. I look forward to a productive discussion today about whether this budget would bring us closer to that reality. In the end, we need to ask ourselves if spending money on bureaucrats, speechwriters, and publishing book reviews are consistent with being good stewards of taxpayer money and providing benefits to veterans. More importantly, we should ask ourselves if we are fulfilling President Lincoln's promise to take care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan. Madam Chairman, I thank you. Mr. Secretary, welcome.
Thank you very much. We will now